Millions of people are quitting their jobs. Numerous jobs are reported unfilled as they struggle to find any candidates. Many people are reported taking a break, intending to find balance. This trend has already been given a name:
so-called Great Resignation.
So what does this realignment mean? Are these people just a bunch of spoiled brats who can't support any friction? Or, in the search for more meaning, could their claim actually make sense? Hi everyone, I'm Max. I'm a freelance in data science and growth hacking with deep interest in tech and entrepreneurship. Let's start by observing how the workplace evolved along the years. Before the rise of the internet, many jobs were industrial jobs. People working in factories, doing a lot of mechanical tasks where the volume of work carried out mattered a lot. That's why workers were quote-unquote punching the clock in and out doing their 9 to 5. With the spread of telecommunications, TV and especially internet.
And what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
We have, over the years, entered in an information industry, where value is brought by the knowledge we share. In this information era, value can be brought thanks to the quantity of information, but more importantly, thanks to the quality of information. And this to me is the real revolution, in the sense that many of the things we thought anchored in the marble began to actually change as well. Because workers on mechanical tasks face many inconveniences. They have to be physically present to work on their machine, their tasks are often repetitive, leaving very few space for creativity and innovation, and being on a physical task, the workers are limited by their current physical capabilities, and thus have limited volume of time they can input and thus output. Hence, it's nearly impossible to benefit fully from this information revolution. In this information era, same inputs can lead to very different outputs. Thus, the scale of efficiency started to deviate a lot in between different workers. For employees working on more creative tasks, for the same inputs, meaning for example the same amount of hours worked in a day, the difference of results from one employee to another can now be of 10x. What this means is that the relationship with time becomes much more different. The idea of a job is to produce value to society. The value is the output. The output should always be the focus, not the input. And for people in tech like me, I would say the shift is even more obvious. The tasks that need to be achieved are quite results-oriented. It's either done or not done. The more structured, organized and efficient you are, the faster you can get to the results. So, for the same time spent, so same input, workers will have results that can be of 10x differences. It's not surprising that tech has been striving in this era of information. As a reminder, IT means information technology. Having been an employee in a big corporate companies myself, I know what it feels like to quietly observe a set of rules that are still applied but don't really make sense anymore. Employees working on information-related jobs can legitimately start questioning the status quo. If I know what I need to do, and I know that this will be done in time, do I really need to be in this meeting where no one needs my input? I just delivered the task that had been assigned to me for this week. It's Friday early afternoon. Do I really need to stay and wait at my desk until we reach a reasonable hour? I focus even better at home. Do I really need to cross the entire city, breathing the armpit of my subway neighbor in a sweaty suit? Suit that is, by the way, useless, as I'm not meeting any client today. And the list of unanswered questions goes on. If you think about it, how convenient is it that all corporate jobs need exactly 8 hours of work each day? On the paper, many companies have what they call a performance review, where you're supposed to have a set of objectives to achieve for the year. Unfortunately, you soon realize that even though they should, they don't only focus on your outputs, meaning your achievements, but also on your inputs, and especially how many years you have been punching the clock in the company before you can hope for any promotion. Every perks are tainted with a small drawback. Dinner is free, but it's only served on late hours. You were given a professional mobile phone, but now you need to answer also during lunchtime. You can meet the high management boss of your entity, but it will be during a 7 a.m. breakfast and you'll be surrounded by 20 other employees and their questions. And you might have heard of much more ridiculous perks.
Yeah, and if he doesn't see me finish, I might get passed over for Refiner of the Quarter and miss out on my goddamn waffle party.
When COVID hit, it kind of reshuffled the deck. And during the pandemic, remote working conquered a lot of minds. Most of the jobs can be done asynchronously nowadays. If you wanted to work 2 hours more on a Tuesday evening, and start working 2 hours later on the next day, there is no meaningful reason you can't do it. Remote allowed many people to think through their relationship with work and, more important, with their time. Suddenly, people could be more flexible on the hours, save hours of commute, use gained time for personal projects or side hustle, and even improve their quality of life by working from anywhere and still be efficient. Remote work is debated as there are different schools of thoughts. Some companies are totally embracing it, some others are asking to come back to the office. If you're an introvert, you probably enjoyed much more remote working than extroverts. But the point is, suddenly, people had time to reflect. Even if your company allows remote, there's still this imperceptible pressure to be reachable online at all times on the various messaging tools. And if your company does not allow remote, it kind of sends a message that presenteeism is needed, that the company still wants to take your time, no matter how well you perform. Add to this some marketing bullshit served indistinctly both to the public sphere and internally to the employees.
Ronald McDonald never sells to children. He informs and inspires through magic and fun.
Which all in all probably creates a lack of trust from the employees. And if you lost the trust of your employee, no pins, no badge of employee of the year, no company core values, no certifications for useless trainings, no waffle party, no perks will be enough to regain your employee's heart. So, if you combine a lack of trust with a little more time to think and reflect, you quickly understand why so many employees started to think about the meaning in their job. Many people are not miserable with their jobs, but they are neither passionate. Well, if you ask them how's work, they'll answer, it's fine. And in that case, their main motivations are going to be people and relationships at work, and of course, money.
Money.
Okay.
I smell money.
Okay.
So when your company tells you they want you to go back to the office and wants to stop remote work, many people probably felt like a part of their gained freedom was taken away. And the thing is, once you have had a taste of freedom, all hell breaks loose.
In an economy that's going down, people are still quitting. Now, what is that indicative of? It's indicative of people believing that they can get another job. You don't quit your job if you don't think you can get another one, or you have some savings available and you want to YOLO, spend a little free time going on vacation.
Or there's a new economy emerging, right? I mean, one of the cases to be made is that the pandemic and the stimulus that followed created a staggering short shift in the types of jobs and the types of businesses that people, use to make money. And, a lot of people were able to shift to work from home. And when you shift to work from home, you have more flexibility and freedom to choose other jobs that you can now do from home. And people don't want to work in restaurants. They don't want to work in fast food. And if they can find another job, a gig-like or services-like or on-demand type job where they can have more freedom and flexibility and more earnings in their life, they'll make that choice.
The usual fear of the unknown is now diminished. People suddenly feel okay with less income if they can regain more meaning by doing something more aligned with their passions and values. And many of them simply think, I don't know what I want, but I certainly don't want this. Finally, I would say that the shifting of mindset is getting stronger by generation. Gen X, the generation born before the 80s, that grew up without internet. Many of them saw their parents working on industry-related jobs, performing mechanical tasks. They were often told that working for a big corporate company was a secure job, etc. Millennials, people born around the 90s, my generation, are the people who grew up with the internet. We have witnessed the exponential changes, from devices to the amount of data, aka information, shared all around the world. And Gen Z, so the people born in the 2000s, this generation grew up when internet was already quite developed and grew up when Web 2.0 was being built, meaning that they were growing up in a world where they could already be part of the web and give their inputs and create. And this is how mindsets shift. Because information has no frontier, it cannot be stopped. If you find the video interesting, please give it a little like. And if you enjoy my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I talk about entrepreneurship, tech, data, growth hacking, all the fun stuff. Finally, I wanted to paint a picture to help you make good decisions if you're currently hesitating on your career path. Whether you want to continue in similar corporate companies or you want to try a new path like an entrepreneurial one, whether it is through startup or as a freelance. The first general comment I would have is that the bigger the company, usually the harder it is to have an impact as an individual, and thus the harder it is to find meaning. The second general comment I would have is that you should keep in mind that I am probably biased because I have a profound despite for political games, and for now I think I'm done playing games in a corporate company. I like to feel that I have control over my fate, and I found it hard to get that feeling in a big corporate company. And a third and final comment I would make is that also keep in mind that I might try to sell you courses one day, and the business model of an entrepreneur is usually the following. 1. Motivate, or should I say freak out, the audience, so that in a crisis for meaning, they quit their job. 2. Leave them unemployed and desperate, so that the audience becomes eager to learn new skills. 3. Show up and sell the audience the perceived needed courses that will allow them to acquire the missing skills that they think they need to make a living. To come back on more serious notes, I would advise you to ask yourself a different set of questions. Do you feel like you have control over your fate where you are now? Do you like your daily task? What do you value the most at the moment? Stability and security, or adventure, freedom, diversity and change, even if that involves slightly more risk? There is a French proverb that says, "Le temps, c'est de l'argent." I would personally even go further and say that time is a much better asset than money. The money you lose, you can always get it back, but the time you lose... So whatever you do, if you don't have a clear idea yet, I would urge you to free some time in your calendar as a first focus, either by suppressing activities that aren't necessary or by trying to improve your productivity at work to gain precious hours of free time. Then look at your savings. If you have so much savings you can sustain the same lifestyle for a couple years, then yes, you could afford to quit, but otherwise I would advise you not to quit right away. Think about what you love and the ideal lifestyle you would like to have. Look at your current situations, your skills, and assess what kind of new job would allow you to reach your objective. Maybe analyze what kind of new skills you would need to learn to get where you want. Changes don't always need to be radical. You could start a side project and see how it goes. Maybe learn a couple things along the way, which will make your profile even more attractive. Because I am convinced that very often the solution to our problem will come from educating ourselves. If the calling to adventure is very strong, then you might take the entrepreneurship route. If you have a big idea that keeps coming back in your mind, you might want to take a look at developing a startup. And if you have a very defined set of skills...
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
And if these skills, moreover, are in high demand, then maybe you could try freelancing. There are many platforms for freelancers like Upwork, Fiverr, Malt, TopTal, where you could subscribe and try to get on small projects in the beginning. My personal belief is that in this era of information, the amount of people tempted by becoming independent can only keep growing over the years. Thanks for watching the video. I hope this is somewhat interesting or at least inspiring. If you're here because you're interested in entrepreneurship, tech or data, you might be interested as well in the topics I covered in these two following videos. Again, subscribe to the channel if you didn't. Thanks for watching and see you at work.